Good morning, my fellow yogic travelers. I'm mighty glad to be alive today, and I hope that you are too, as we continue to live, laugh, love, learn, linger, and live the life we love. They say that yoga is like a diamond where every facet is equal to every other facet in the divine unity. So it really doesn't matter which one you choose as your portal to enter into, it'll give you a connection or an interconnectedness to everything else. So any aspect that you find tweaks you or excites you or makes you feel the wow of existence, that's your doorway. And it's interesting, of course, that the archaic superconsciousness seems to be a kind of trump that they put in our face, saying, "You are like a fish in a tank. What do you know of what's on the outside of the tank? All your experiences are based on the small area that you swim in. And until you have an experience, I guess you could say, of mystical consciousness or transcendental transport, how can you make a comment about it and say it either doesn't exist or it's not real or whatever critique you do?" And of course, there has to be a balance between no criticism, accepting everything, and deconstructionism, which is criticizing everything till there's nothing left. Now, it's true that pop culture is superficial, but human spirituality is deep. So we have to critique some falsifications of our own thinking, what I call the shadow dynamics, and not assume that everything we think is clear and that there's no possibility of error on our own part. So in some ways, you have to cast suspicion on the way you think or the way you've been molded into thinking. And also, when you're practicing yoga, I find that there's a kind of paradox between taking the teachings literally, which is what I call the sutra level, and then taking the teachings tantrically, which is where everything is interwoven together and there's more shades of gray than there is clarity about this is white and this is black, this is right and this is wrong. And since many of us perceive change as threatening, it's hard to really let go and continue to transform yourself. But I love the way my teacher, who seemed to have deep insight into the poses when he was 16 or 18, says 50 years later, I'm still evolving the poses, still working on improving. That to me is the real sign of a master in the craft, because they're expanding, just like the universe. The universe is still expanding, apparently, since the Big Bang at 186,000 miles a second. So we can't say, what's the edge of the universe? We don't know. It's still moving away from that big fireball blast. And of course, most of what we see in the universe is unknown, the dark matter, right? And yet all the mystics say it's that super essential darkness, which is the support and source of everything that we see in the manifested world. Nonetheless, one of the easy ways to try to make sense of this, oversimplification and reductionistic as it is what we call the ascending and the descending path. The ascending path takes you up, the descending path takes you down or in. And of course, most people like the ascending path, but that's also called the wisdom path because it takes you to the one where you see how everything fits together. But when you take the descending path, you see the blood on the snow, and then no matter how much celebration you do in the ascending path, no matter how much oneness and peace you get there, when you take the descending path, your life is a life of service. So unfortunately, most of us don't think about these things as long as things are going well. As long as you're winning, as long as you're playing the game, it's much easier to deny. But once you understand, you can't get what's broken in you fixed, but you can get it blessed, and then go down and do likewise. You try to bless other people, or as my teacher says, keep the window open. Maybe the grace will flow into your life. We can't guarantee it. The only thing we can say is if your window is closed, it doesn't matter if the wind of grace is blowing or not. You can't receive it. So another metaphor is unfurl your sail. We can't guarantee that you'll catch the wind. We just know that if your sail isn't unfurled and the wind picks up, you're not going to get any. So I hope that we all find in our own way the difference between healthy grandiosity, healthy grandiosity, the ability for each person to strut their stuff, shine, and be acknowledged for the gift that they have, as opposed to pathological narcissism, where it's hard to tell the difference between you thinking you're the hottest thing that there is in the world, and just simply recognizing that each person has gifts, and here's mine. So I hope that you can find the difference in you between the Rambo and the Gandhi. Both were warriors, but one seemed to have much more a righteousness about it, Gandhi, and one seems to have much more a self-righteousness about it, like vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, and that's the Rambo part of you. So look at your daily life, because that's the testing ground for where your sadhana really is.